Okay, it is June 2nd, 2017. I got a few subjects I want to interview about. Notes. Okay.
Okay.
Subject number one. So we got in the book now, Emerson says if you build a better mousetrap, the world will be a path to your door. And but he didn't talk about marketing. And I thought it'd be more interesting to talk about that product development process class you took in like 7th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
And think about how different maybe that was for, your actual experience, or how it was similar or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean?
So what was the product, what did they teach you in the product development process in that part of science?
They basically just, exactly what you said.
That was just 3 words. There must have been more.
I don't know what else you want me to say. That's exactly what it was. They taught us the brainstorming and then the production aspect. They didn't really go into a lot of detail and how long it would take and how hard it would be and how sad. No.
How gloomy and
No.
despairing you'd ultimately become.
No. They basically just explained them briefly, but they never really again got into the details, probably because they never brought a product to market, and how sad. No.
They didn't want to get you kids depressed about how painful and horrible it might be. And drive you into a pit of gloomy despair. But it was mostly like the engineering and the product side of it. Out of production, you'd brainstorm, you'd do sketches.
It's more of it's less of the business aspect and more of building the product itself.
And they had 3D
And I'm pretty sure
printers.
that's because it was science, and she was also teaching us the scientific method.
Oh, the scientific method of doing analysis of things. Okay. How many classes was it? Did that teacher ever find out about the kangaroo cups? I know that was part of the CNN time, but
I mean, before CNN called?
Well, she didn't know before, did she?
No.
You never said anything.
I never said anything.
Sat there like a dummy.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Did you consider it all ironic that you'd already sold, $100,000 worth of product, and you were sitting there like a dummy listening to someone who perhaps had never actually brought a product to market teach you about it?
I just sat and listened. I mean, that's just what you do in school.
Right.
You just sit and listen and then regurgitate everything that the teacher says back onto a piece of paper. That's pretty much what it is.
So did it not occur to you to raise your hand, or you just thought it'd be obnoxious to speak up?
It never really occurred to me.
It didn't occur to you just because you didn't see that as tied in any way?
I mean, it was definitely tied, but I don't know, I just didn't think it was necessary.
The job in school is just to listen and regurgitate?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's kind of sad.
Yeah! That was middle school. It gets better in high school.
Gets better in high school. Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's good. So then afterwards, then the teacher did find out when CNN came to your middle school?
Well, didn't you say that the CNN people called her?
I don't know if the CNN people ever called her or not. I'm sure we gave them the number. But I think they'd moved on to a different, or maybe the teacher didn't know anything, or I'm not sure what happened.
Well, then why do you always say that?
Well, I don't know. I would have thought somehow the feedback would have got back to you. The teacher would have said, "Holy crap!" But apparently that didn't happen.
I don't really remember. It might have. I don't really remember.
You don't remember having any discussion one way or another with that teacher?
No.
Oh. And she wasn't in the room when they came for the drama practice, was she? She doesn't really care.
I don't know. Ask her.
Oh, I don't know. Was she a good teacher? Did you like her?
Yeah, she was a good teacher.
Yeah.
But among the average teachers.
Average.
Not
gonna set the world on fire, but
not gonna build it back up either, so average.
So you think it's fair to say in the current one we got but Emerson didn't talk about marketing or fundraising, and so we had to learn that on our own. Do you think that's fair to say that wasn't included?
What do you mean?
Well, we're trying to create kind of an ironic situation that, here you were learning these specific aspects of product development they weren't teaching you in class, despite the fact that you had this class, or this section of a class dedicated to it. And just like, oh, how different the real world is kind of thing.
I'm just gonna... Nah, I sort of, like, thought for, like, a split second, like, if any of these people think that it's this easy, they're gonna have a hell of a time.
Do you have any idea how miserable? Look at my dad.
Sad!
Beaten down, despairing, depressed.
Sad! Despair!
So it seemed pretty simple in the class. It was just like, you do a sketch, you
I
bring
mean,
in
like,
production.
now that I look back on it, I feel like that if I had no prior experience, then I definitely probably would have thought that it was a lot easier than it really is. I would have been like, oh, wow, you can just do that in 3 days? I never knew that, wow.
So do you think you would have been even more, like, disappointed and despairing if you'd have had that class first and then prepared for it to be easier?
Probably, yeah.
It was really hell on wheels?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Thank God I didn't have that class. Oh, that's a pretty good line. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good story. Okay. Well, I'm glad I had this talk with you. Okay, I have a couple more friends. Yes. All right, let's see.
Yes.
I don't have much more time. 9 minutes.
We tried.
Okay. Anything else on the product development class? It's kind of a rich, kind of area filled with like irony and stuff. So, is there anything else you think that's kind of ironic about that class relative to your experience? Or
Well, I mean, adding on to like the whole like, do you think you would have like been even more disappointed if I've had that class before? Adding on to that, my English teacher, my English teacher this year for freshman year, his entire strategy for us in terms of testing is to make every single, like, example or question harder than what's going to be on the test.
Oh.
Because then once you get the test, you're going to be like, oh, that's a lot. That's easy.
Right.
So
okay.
That's basically his entire strategy.
So this would have been kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, how do you think of his strategy? Do you think it's a good strategy?
I mean, considering I got a B on the final, and most people got low to medium 7, like C's, then sure.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Auntie Kate and the Crafts in the Basement. Let me actually, before I get to that, so the Chicago Tribune interview, we're driving down there as the first big interview, and it's just sort of, there's kind of a journey there that, I don't know how much of this you remember or whatever, but, I mean, you've heard it a million times, but you really were so shy. At the start of this whole thing, you wouldn't even order from a Starbucks barista, and that's a pretty rudimentary interview. And now you're getting interviewed with this national publication and in-depth questions. But you were able to do it. I mean, by then, did you really have to, how nervous do you remember being? Or by that time, you'd kind of overcome a lot of your shyness? Or
I don't really remember.
You don't
honestly.
remember being nervous?
I mean, like, I probably was, but I don't really remember.
But you just knew it was important, so you figured you better suck it up, or...
I guess.
So what do you think? I mean, obviously, we're all none of us are there anymore, but
I tried.
But you literally would hide behind me at Subway or Starbucks, and then here we are, not much longer, where you're getting driven down in this big intimidating place and sitting down with a reporter, and you certainly knew what that meant to be in the newspaper. What do you think? How do you attribute the transition that already occurred by that point?
What do you mean?
How do you think you got over your shyness? How do you think you got to have the bravery to sit down with Melissa and tell her your story?
I mean, how do I think? Because I don't really remember a lot.
What's your guess?
I mean, when was that? Like 5th grade, maybe?
That would have been fifth grade, yeah.
5th grade?
Yeah, just coming into 5th grade.
Was I in PAC?
You'd done some of the PAC stuff.
So I think definitely a part of it has something to do with the fact that I've been in performing arts camp by then, but I mean, yeah, I do feel like I was like, oh, well, this isn't any server at a restaurant. I gotta suck it up.
So do you remember the first time then it was probably PAC, and this is consistent with my memory too, but must have been a time in PAC when you were just, scared poopless with your knees knocking or something to get up there on stage. I mean, to go from being too shy to talk to a Starbucks person to getting up on stage is a pretty big step.
Well, I mean, this is the thing that's actually good about this performing arts camp, because I remember I started out in, like, PAC 2. They celebrate it by, they separate it by, age groups.
Yeah.
So, I was in PAC 2 when I joined, and normally they don't really give us, normally they don't really give younger kids, like, lead roles.
Yeah.
Just, I guess, and, like, if they continue, then they can be eased into a bigger role.
Right.
And I remember, and here's the thing, so I remember, PAC 2, I was like a small-ish role.
Yeah.
Like I got, like, a smaller-ish role, like I was mainly, like, in the ensemble with, like, a few singing solos with, like, 2 other girls.
Yeah.
And then once I went to PAC 3, I feel like I definitely knew a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I was probably a lot more confident in my abilities.
Yeah.
In terms of that. So, and then my first year in PAC 3, I got a pretty major role.
That was the grandmother role?
Yeah. And, like, I had, like, this grandma voice, and I put flour in my hair to make it look grayer, but, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I was put into performing arts camp, and Mom actually recently told me that it's because I was painfully shy, and you were like, put her in there.
I don't remember that. I remember you wanting to go. I mean, we didn't force you into a whole lot of stuff. You were too stubborn to force you very hard.
Am I still stubborn?
Still pretty stubborn.
Okay.
Well, 95% of things you'll go along with. That 5%, boy, you dig in. Anyone who tries to move you, well, their life becomes a living hell. I mean, in a good way.
In a good way.
But do you remember, like, do they, like, was it like sticking you out on the diving board and forcing you to jump, or was it kind of nurturing where they kind of brought you on stage in a gentle way? I mean, somewhere in there must have been a period where, like, you somehow forced or on your own volition or something got up there on stage, even if it was a smaller role, like, again, I'm just saying there's a transition from not ordering from a server, and these are not like mean people like crapping on you. They're just like, what can I get you? And you're like, I don't want to tell them. And to getting up on stage in front of hundreds of people, minor or otherwise, that's still much more intimidating. So something snapped in there. I'm just kind of curious if you can remember any moment and how they did that, and what advice you can give to parents or other kids who are really shy, because somehow you overcame it. And because I agree with you, I think it was somewhere in the PAC experience. I just don't remember when or what happened or how they did it.
Again, and then remember I was also in Aladdin.
Right.
Which, again, very minor role, where I basically just sat backstage being lazy half the time.
Well, there was Frog and Toad, too. That was pretty early on, too.
Like, yeah, but that wasn't, that was way after, that was, like, not after PAC, but, like, after I've been there for a while.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah. But, I think it was just one of those things, like, alright, I got myself into this mess, I have to do it.
Okay. So you just gutted it up and that was it.
Basically.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
So,
what else could I do?
Responsible. You could bail. A lot of people do, or you could lock up. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to get to all this, but there's one. Let's see. All right, 15. All right. Well, I'll do the other ones. I'll do the other ones later. I promised you 15 minutes, and that's what I got.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.